Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Phantom Blaster Dragon Cardfight Vanguard Overdress deck profile for Post, a brush with the legends. With the latest Cardfight Vanguard booster set, we were given the second encounter deck, being the Shadow Paladin's Ace unit, Phantom Blaster Dragon, along with a bunch of other cards reprinted in the standard format or Overdress format for all this support. It's a really awesome deck with a bunch of familiar cards to work with a bunch of different Keter Sanctuary cards we've had from set 1 all the way to set 2. Definitely happy with the results of the deck. It definitely does feel like the retro Phantom Blaster Dragon decks that we've seen throughout the years. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the ride deck, being the first is the starter, full bow. Just like the other starters in Overdress format, it just has the skill when rode upon, if you went second, draw a card. So just very fitting for the deck with the original starter for Phantom Blaster Dragon. The whole ride deck really does feel like the ride chain that Ren used in the first series, with the grade 1 being Blaster Javelin. When this unit is rode upon by Blaster Dark, reveal the top card of your deck, call it to rear as rest if it is a unit card, and discard it if it isn't. So we really don't run any normal orders in this deck, just for the fact that we don't want to miss out with this card skill, and we really don't need them for a good amount of the plays that you can make with this deck. And having this pressure with Blaster Javelin as a soul blasted card for that potential of many of the other different cards we run in the deck, with our grade 2 ride target being Blaster Dark. When this unit is placed on Vanguard or rear, you counterblast 1, retire another rear guard, and choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, and this unit gets drive +1 until end of turn. So the twin drive power while you're on grade 2 can be very pressure, or strong pressure against your opponent altogether, with our grade 3 ride target being Phantom Blaster Dragon itself, the boss monster in the deck, and definitely needed as the ride target of choice for the ride deck. With the other grade 3 lineup, ideally being 3 more Phantom Blaster Dragon. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, choose a card with Blaster and its card name from your soul and call that card to rear. So you can either call Blaster Dark or Blaster Javelin. You have both of the options from your soul for this card, with Blaster Javelin having the additional rear guard skill during your turn. If you have a Vanguard Blaster, it gets plus 2,000. So if you have all the grade 2s you need in your hand, being able just to have the option to call a grade 1 as a booster card to the field can be a big plus there, just to have your Phantom Blaster Dragon hit for some bigger numbers. And on Vanguard Circle, once per turn, counterblast 1 and retire 3 rear guards. Choose up to 2 of your opponent's rear guards, retire them, and this unit gets plus 10,000 in additional critical until end of turn. Now, that really does play to the old style of Phantom Blaster Dragon, the pressure you can get with the critical and power, and also being able to take out your own opponent's rear guards is just an added bonus altogether. So you definitely want to run 3 additional ones of this. Unlike Dragonic Overlord, we do run some other additional grade 3s in the deck. I am running 2 Knight of War damage Fasado and also 2 Virulence Dragon. Now, if you don't have the Fasados, you can always just run the additional Virulence Dragons, with Fasado having the counter charge and soul charge power when this unit attack hits, and also not being able to be chosen by your opponent's card effects can at least save it for your own Phantom Blaster Dragon sacrifice. And Virulence Dragon, when this unit is retired from rear for the cost of your card, you can counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and all of your units with Blaster and its card name get plus 5,000 to end of turn. So along with the 10,000 power for Phantom Blaster Dragon, being able to give the additional power with Virulence Dragon is just added pressure altogether with this card. And that is it for the grade 3s. Unlike Bastion, we don't really have to rely too much on grade 3 units. For the grade 2s, we are running 3 additional Blaster Dark. We already went over the additional pressure this card has with the Vanguard retire power. On rear guard, additionally, during your turn, if your rear guard was retired this turn, it gets plus 5,000 power. So with this card and the potential to power it up with some other cards on the field, you can hit for some pretty big numbers against your opponent. And the Persona ride in this card means you can hit for 25,000 power alone with just this card, making it a very dangerous and scary card to go up against your opponent. And I really do love the art style with the new Blaster Dark for the encounter cards also. Another blast from the past is Darkness Maiden Maka. When this unit is placed on rearguard, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, this unit gets plus 5,000 till end of turn. Then you can Soul Blast 1, retire another rearguard, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 1 or less card from among them, call it to rear, and shuffle your deck. So it's just more setup. If you need, let's say, a better rearguard, or just one that can either boost or intercept, you can rely on Maka for that playstyle. And having the plus 5 power, meaning you can hit the same numbers as Blaster Dark if you Persona Road, and having this card with that plus 5 and the plus 10 from the Persona Ride. And I also run 4 of the Knight of Heavenly Destruction, Capald. When this unit is placed on rear from your hand, counterblast 1, rest one of your other rear guards, reveal the top card of your deck, put it into your hand if it is an order card or a grade 3 card, and call to rear if it isn't. So with the grade 3 potential, you can potentially add Phantom Blaster Dragon to your hand with this card, just giving you another card to use for your Persona Ride. Otherwise, you're just setting up units to retire with Phantom Blaster Dragon on the rear guard. That's why you have to rest one of your other rear guards, because you have the idea that you're going to retire that unit that you rest, and the additional card you call out to the field can either be another card to attack your opponent or another, card to retire with Phantom Blaster Dragon. And that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. Running 4 of the Witch of Pandering Brunner. On rearguard, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster and its card name, when this unit would be retired for your card's cost, may be regarded as 2 units. So just another way to set up your field if you call it out with Capald. That can be the 1 card needed for the retire. Having the retire of 2 cards on the field. You do have to retire 3 rearguards with Phantom Blaster Dragon, but just being able to have Brunner count as 2 means you can have this and the other unit you rested with Capald on the field as the retire cost for it, and then still have, let's say, your grade 2s on the field to use to attack into your opponents. I also run 4 of the Black Sage Sharon. This card looks so familiar to its old art style, so I really do like that about it. When this unit is placed on rear, if you have a Vanguard with Blaster in its card name, rest this unit, look at the top card of your deck. If it's a unit card, call it to rear, and at the end of the turn, retire that called unit. So the unit you call with this card is obviously going to be retired with your Phantom Blaster Dragon. So that's really all you need this card for, is that setup. And if you call a Brunner to rearguard as rest, it can still count as the retire cost. So just an additional card to call out as an added benefit for your plays. That's why I run 4 Sharon. So you have cards to preserve in your hand for your plays, but also cards to call out using this card. And then for the last of the grade 1s, I just run 4 of the Aegis Mare Dragon, being the Sentinel of choice in the deck, since you can easily just guard with 2 of these cards in your hand, guarding the 1 attack against your opponent and preserving the 1 in your hand, since if you have 1 or less cards in your hand, you don't have to discard for your Sentinel, being able to block any of your opponent's over triggers and still block the rear guard after your opponent gives all the power to that rear guard if you were able to block the first attack with a Sentinel. And then moving on to the trigger units, decided to go with 7 critical for the deck, just with the overall pressure you have with Phantom Blaster Dragon. Going first with that plus 10 power and critical, and then getting another critical can potentially be game against your opponent if you had early game pressure with your other units. So the 3 Knight of Heavenly Hammer and the 4 White Fang Witch Disma as the triggers of choice in the deck. For the other spots, I'm also running 4 of the draw trigger Exalting Knight Earford. I just felt I need the draw power more in this deck than I needed the front trigger pressure. If you want to try out the new front trigger from set 2, you can do that, but like I said, I prefer the draw trigger in this spot. With the last triggers being the 4 Circling Sorceress, just the heal trigger of choice, I felt the other heal was more for the Bastion deck. This one definitely does fit into Hexa Orb and Shadow Paladins a lot more. And then lastly, the over trigger being the Light Dragon Deity of Honors, Armartanoa, as just the option to give your rear guards the drive trigger pressure as well, hitting for some pretty big numbers against your opponent with those numbers, depending on what rear guards you had. And then that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. This is definitely an awesome deck, and those who are Shadow Paladin fans and fans of Phantom Blaster Dragon will definitely have a lot of fun playing and building this deck for sure, with all the other units like Blaster Javelin, Blaster Dark introduced for this format as well for this deck. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.